Cool. That's gonna happen.
Oh, he just caught a gun, guys. Oh, Jason just got a hand gun.
Holy cow. Gotta keep this pointed in a safe direction. Oh my God. I can't believe,
Live too.
I can't believe I caught a handgun live streaming. Oh my God, this looks, it's a Kel-Tec, I can tell you that, which, holy crap, I'm so excited right now.
Hey, I ain't the man. Police, y'all good.
Oh, good. Aren't you here for us? So, I bought it right here. It was about 2 feet out, I believe. I can't get the slides on to clear it. The magazine wasn't up here. You know, it's a Kel-Tec, I believe, can be nice.
So, I'll take it and, hopefully we can get somebody to clean it up and
Then whatever you guys want to
get a surgery.
No,
Look like it's, doesn't look like it's been in there.
no, it's been here a little while. It doesn't matter. I don't know where Kel-Tec puts the serial numbers, but it's gotta be on the slide underneath all this drawing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't get the slide open. I wasn't able to slide the magazine.
I already did.
No, that's all right. I got one.
You just got one here in here because I don't have this zone set.
Truck, I come back and get your name because I have a generator report.
Sounds great. You want the driver's license right now?
Yeah, I sure can. Give me 1 minute. Let me put this in there.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Oh.
All right, guys. So I just pulled in this handgun. This is crazy. We keep finding them, but if we'll keep this pointed in a safe direction, we're gonna go ahead and call the police department and get them down here.
I'm gonna set it off.
Got to the point where finding somebody that
It's down on,
transport them
Water
ourselves to
Park.
the police
I'm
station.
fixing that one right now. I talked to the gun desk a few days ago, and they said, let me come to my car and bring the one of the precincts closest.
A lot of them are Charlotte, a couple in Saginaw, a lot of them over in New Jersey.
Yes, sir. This is the fourth one I've turned into the fourth precinct.
Gotta throw away the evidence.
Oh, this one too.
Now, the good thing would be to get a Glock or something that's made
Glock,
out
you
of
want to still
polycarbonate so they don't get caught by your magnets.
She's caught a Glock with a magnet before.
That's weird.
The internal parts. Grab down
Thank
to-
you.
Put
You have a
fire
wonderful day.
chamber.
You know, it could be, but because of the way serial number is put on the steel, even if it's ground out, they can usually see it from the backside. Hey, Lieutenant Howard, this is Jason. I'm down at John Dingle Park. We're magnet fishing, and we pulled in a handgun that we'd like to turn in.
Okay, I don't know.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, sir.
What kind of magnet would you use for like that sign?
Good, how are you? Dee's over here. I was really excited about this. That's my best find, I think. I'll show you why.
On TikTok?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Did they find a gun somewhere?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Who found it?
I did.
Wow.
And,
38.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. We were doing a special with PBS that day.
And I caught it with that little bitty magnet.
Get your right.
No, they're just really strong magnets. They cleaning up the water and,
This is the first ever get the motor, get the motor.
How did you feel when you pulled this one?
Good. I just hope it's all the time. Because it doesn't look that corrosive.
No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm hoping is it's gonna solve the crime.
It's got no bullets, of course.
Right.
You see that? Unless there's one here, I don't think there is. A lot of times, it's inoperable. We try to get a serial number.
Uh-huh.
We might be able to find a serial number, but to get it a safety, it's real hard.
Right.
Because it's crudge and the rust, you see it's rusted, sludge.
Well, there is a lot of new products on the market that will
Right, we
clean that up.
got two that we took one here about a month ago, and by the boat race.
Uh-huh.
You were gonna let it get
Yeah,
started.
I remember that, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Tanner. I am the Michigan Magnet Man. I've got a video to show you guys, give you guys a little bit of a backstory on how I got started into magnet fishing. And then we're gonna dive real deep into everything about magnet fishing. The equipment that we need, how to handle police interactions, what you should do if you find a gun, all types of things like that, how to get your magnet unstuck. So I'll go ahead and start by showing you guys that video. I'll pop this one up. My name is Torres. I'm a senior at Michigan State University studying film. And in the beginning of 2020, I discovered a hobby that I had never heard of, and it got me really excited, and it go on to become like one of the biggest parts of my life. I just found a handgun! Holy crap! Oh, dude! So in 2020, I was watching a magnet fishing video on YouTube because the pandemic had just started, and what better thing to do is just watch a bunch of YouTube videos. So I was just scrolling and scrolling through videos, and this video had popped up where a guy was throwing a magnet into the river, and he had pulled out a grenade, and I thought it was the craziest thing. The cops had came, and I instantly knew that that was something that I wanted to do and take part in. And I think for like a solid 2 months after that, I was just binge watching everyone's videos. So as soon as that might be something that I would want to do and try, I hopped straight over to Amazon and I bought my own magnet fishing kit. Now, what comes in a magnet fishing kit is your magnet. It's usually a neodymium magnet, and they can be quite strong. The one that I'm currently using is a 3,800 pound magnet that can pull 3,800 pounds, which is absolutely insane when you think about it, but that's in like the most perfect condition. So I bought my first magnet fishing kit, and it arrived, and I lived in Caro, Michigan. It's a little rural town in Michigan, and I went out to one of the only spots that there is to throw a magnet into a river where there's access, and I was finding all kinds of stuff like screwdrivers and tools and a lot of fishing lures. I was getting really into it. And you know, the first day that I was there, I had decided that I was just going to record everything that I was doing and everything that I was finding, because who knows, maybe I could start my own channel and be creating content like how these people were. Welcome to episode 1 of the Michigan Magnet Man. I'm here in Caro, Michigan today, located down by the Caro River, Cass River here. So that's how it all began. And since then, it has just continued to boom. All right, guys, I'm gonna keep this safe. This is the second gun that's been pulled up today. This is another little handgun. When I first started doing magnet fishing, I was finding some stuff, but I realized quickly that I wasn't gonna find the big ticket items that some of these other channels were finding. There was guys that were finding guns and, like I said, grenades and things like that every single video that they were posting, and that is what I wanted to find.
I think if you're gonna clean up a river, you might as well do it this way. One of the more interesting ways to just get off out of the Detroit River, 2 men actually resorted to magnet fishing, and they found all kinds of hidden treasure. In June of 2020, I met Jason from the Motor City Magnet Fishers, who would go on to become one of my best friends. We met up with him in Detroit, my cousin and I, for the first time, and we had a blast magnet in the Detroit area. This was an area that I hadn't never really spent a lot of time in, so I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was that he had found 5 guns prior to me meeting him, so I figured that this was probably one of the better steps to actually find some of those things that I really wanted to find. And little did I know that was gonna take me to going on to finding, I've met 31 firearms now, just from my travels. And even from that, I had met Jason and I traveled with him around the state. And I had also met Scuba Sonia, who is another content creator from New Jersey, and she's actually my girlfriend. We actually met through the magnet fishing community, and we have been traveling around everywhere, just magnet fishing, all the way from California to the West Coast, over to New York City on the East Coast. And it has been one of the, my greatest finds of magnet fishing yet. A sense of community that I've met through the YouTube community and through the magnet fishing community, it's just unmatched to anything that I've been a part of. The only time that I've ever really had
Like camaraderie like that would have been when I was in the military, in the Navy, and I haven't found that sense. And I think I found a part of myself in this community, and it has helped me grow to become a better person, as well as someone that is out here doing things that I can do for my community.
Number is 332970.
YouTube in general has brought a lot of communities closer. I can only imagine all of the other communities, like the guitar community or the car community. They have similar bonds and they've met similar people. Like, I can tell you the name of every single person that makes YouTube videos magnet fishing in Michigan. Met them all, we hang out, we're friends. Like, this community is so much bigger than magnet fishing, and it's so much bigger than I ever expected all of this to turn out. Okay, so that's my little welcome video. Gives you a little backstory on how I got into it. Now, if you guys are here, I'm assuming you guys know what magnet fishing is, but if you don't, it's where you use a strong neodymium magnet on the end of a rope, and you throw it out into a body of water in hopes to find metal in the water. The metal that you are finding is anything that has iron in it. So if it does not have iron, so your silver and your gold, all your precious metals, you're not going to be able to pull out the magnet. But anything with iron, you will be able to. I'm going to go over some of the equipment that I use to start. The main thing are going to be our magnets. So the magnets do come in many different styles and sizes and different strengths. So I'm going to start by showing you guys one of the first ones I ever had. It's called a single-sided magnet. This side of this magnet here is magnetic, this side is not. So this is best used off of bridges or higher up areas where you can dip down with the magnet. So that's a single-sided magnet. When I first got into magnet fishing, there was only two types, a single-sided and a double-sided. Let me show you the double-sided. This is a double-sided magnet. This side and this side both are magnetic. This one's a little bit smaller and has 750 pounds pull strength. Typically, when I'm out there magnet fishing, I'm using a magnet now that has a pull strength of 3,800 pounds. So I can pull up some quite large chunks of metal with that. But this is smaller, and this is a double-sided. Now, about a year after the double and single-sided became really popular, there's a company over in the UK that came out with a clamp-style magnet. So the way that this works, it's a lot stronger than the double-sided. But it is similar to the double-sided where this side and this side are both magnetic, but you also have pull from down here around this. This is really great if you're fishing off of like a shoreline or anything with a seawall, because I'm able to pull it up and away pretty well. So that's a clamp style magnet. Now to the big boys. This is what we have been using now. The best magnets on the market are going to be your 360-degree style magnets. This is the Kratos Titan from Kratos Magnetics. It is magnetic all the way around the entire magnet. What's great about this is you don't need separate magnets to go do something. Where beforehand, I would need a single-sided magnet if I wanted to fish down off of a bridge and be able to drop, or I would have to use a double-sided magnet from the shore to pull it flat. This gives me the option where I can throw it the same way as both of those, and it's going to grab onto stuff almost every time. The next piece of equipment that we're going to talk about is the rope. I use 10mm climbing rope. Now, it's important that you are using a strong rope because if you do get your magnet stuck, you're going to need to get it back. There's instances where we've had to use cars to use it to tow them out, and I also carry a 5-ton come-along with me as well so I can get my rope back. And that's what this is. If you're looking to get into magnet fishing, I recommend at least a 2,000-pound come-along to get your magnet unstuck. Essentially what this is, it's a ratchet that I can hook up to a tree, hook this up to my rope, and crank it back. And then, like I said, up to 10,000 pounds, it should be able to move any of the boulders I need. But that is why you want a really strong rope. I've had instances where I've personally had ropes snap while I was retrieving magnets, and that can be very dangerous. If that rope comes and hits you, it does not feel good. I took one to the hand one time, and my hand was sore for literally 2 weeks. So you gotta be very careful when you're doing that. The next thing that you want to have with you always is a 5-gallon bucket. We carry like 2 or 3 of these with us everywhere we go. Not only are they great for storing your magnet and your ropes, they're also really good for putting all your scrap metal in to dispose of after the fact. I've tried just about everything for storing a magnet. I've used hose reels. I've literally gone through everything I could think of to find the best way to store these magnets. And I find that by putting it into a 5-gallon bucket,
I can leave it so the little attachment that I hook up to the side sticks out. So that way I can just take my magnet when I get there, throw it, and it'll unravel itself right out of my pocket. So I don't have to worry about setting everything up and leaving my rope tangled. Next piece of equipment that we use quite often is a crowbar. So we fish in a lot of areas that have seawalls all the way down on the river, and that can be a pain to get your magnet off of. But a hook like this really helps you get some leverage and pry it off, and this has never let us down for the most part. Gloves. So gloves has been another huge issue when it comes to magnet fishing for us. It's been hard to find a glove that is going to withstand being poked by metals and things like that. And we've tried a lot of different types. Anything that's got a rubber coating on the inside here, or latex coating, whatever they use, is really good. This one is extra thick. When you're cleaning your magnet off, you're gonna get poked, you're gonna get prodded here and there. So if you have a really good pair of gloves, it'll really help prevent that. In the winter, a lot of people do not want to play in the river in the winter, but I'm one of the crazy people that do. So we found a company called G&F, and they provide these gloves here that are really good for winter. They're waterproof, and they keep your hands dry and warm the entire time we're out there. I've used these for 10 hours in a single day, and I have not had any issues, and they last quite a long time. The inside's got that coating like these, and it helps prevent you from getting stabbed by anything. Okay, next we're gonna go over location finding. So when I first started magnet fishing, I didn't have a whole lot of options. I'm from Carroll, Michigan. It's a town of 4,000 people, and there's not a whole lot of waterway access. There was one park in particular that I would go down to every single time because it was the only place I knew. Now, when I'm looking for places, I am utilizing Google Maps, crime maps. And the way that I do it, I pick a city that I want to go to. Let's say, for instance, Detroit. I'll pull up the map of Detroit on Google Maps, and I will literally zoom right into the river, and I'll look for docks. I'll look for walkways where people can walk. Anything close to where a lot of people are going to be, you're going to find a lot more. The way that we utilize crime maps, once you've found a location that you like, a city that you want to go try magnet fishing in, you can type, let's say, Detroit crime map into Google and go to images. It'll show you vectored off red, orange, green, and it'll let you know that the safety there in those areas. We tend to find a lot more objects in the more dangerous areas that have higher crime rates. So that's why we find a lot of stuff in Detroit and Saginaw and Flint, because there's a higher crime rate there, you're more likely going to find a lot more stuff in the water. Now, when you're looking for these spots, it doesn't just have to be off of a bridge. Anywhere that has access to the water, boat docks. She loves fishing off boat docks. Fishing docks. Anything can be good for magnet fishing. There's been times where we'll even just go right off the side of the bank. So you don't have to be discouraged if you're having a hard time finding anywhere that has direct access. As long as it's public property and you're up on the side, you should be good to go. And that's going to lead me into my next thing when looking for a spot. You need to make sure that you are on public property and not private property. There are a lot of laws you need to follow when it comes to that, so you can avoid getting into any trouble. Magnets getting stuck. We talked about that a little bit using the come along and using this crowbar. Now, we've had a whole lot of magnets get stuck over the years, and sometimes the come along will fail and you will have a rope snap. The first thing you want to do when you get a magnet stuck in the water is assess how is it. Are you stuck on a rock? Does it feel rocky in the area that you've been fishing in? Are you stuck on a seawall up against the side? Based off of where you're stuck, it's really going to help you decide what your first plan of action should be to get this magnet unstuck. The best thing to do when you first get your magnet stuck is to pull on an angle. So let's say my magnet is stuck where Sonia is. I take my rope physically and I would come over here and I would try to pull from this way. If that doesn't work, we'll come all the way over to the other side and we'll pull from that way. I'd say 6 out of 10 times that's going to help you get your magnet back. The rest of the time, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. You're going to need to break out the come along. Now, the come along I carry with me is a 5-ton come along. It can pull out 10,000 pounds. If you were stuck in a rock, especially, this is really beneficial because those boulders weigh a lot. So this is going to help you pull up and get your magnet back from there. The second part, if it doesn't work, if you're pulling side to side, have people help you. There's been times where it's taken 4 or 5 of us to get a magnet unstuck, not just one person. Those magnets are really high pull strengths, and it helps if you've got extra people with you.
The things that we get most stuck on the most often are gonna be things like seawalls. I don't know if you guys have been down to the river lately, but it's pretty much through Detroit, on the sides there are metal seawalls that are gonna be blocking the side to help prevent erosion. These seawalls are super magnetic, your magnet is going to stick to them. I highly suggest reaching out quite a bit farther and pulling straight up with your magnet. It's gonna make it so you can avoid that seawall. If any boats have come by after you have thrown, the waves will tend to push your magnet up against that seawall. So you want to avoid pulling in as close as you can until those waves subside. The next thing we get stuck in quite a lot are the rocks, like I was talking about, boulders. And that is a huge issue. Sometimes you can get very stuck in these rocks and you can't even pull it out with a come along or a vehicle. And you're going to have it pulled from the opposite side of where you are at, which can be difficult in places that it's like the Detroit River, where the river is so wide you can't get across it to pull from. In those instances, we've asked people in boats and kayaks to go out and give us a pull, and that seems to have helped. Fishing in strong currents. So the Detroit River is a super strong current, opposed to the Grand River that we fish in Lansing quite often. Fishing with a strong current is a lot different than magnet fishing in a not strong current. The reason is, if you throw your magnet straight out, by the time it hits the bottom, it's going to be all the way over here. So when you are fishing in areas with high currents, I recommend you start upriver as you can and let the magnet come down with the water. From there, if you were just to pull on your magnet, the magnet will pop up and down because of the waves coming through. The current coming through will pull your magnet up off the bottom. To prevent this, the best method is to walk on an angle with your magnet. So let's say this is upriver, I threw it there, my magnet came down and it's here. I'm now going to pull in slowly, but I'm going to walk with the magnet, and that's going to prevent it from jumping up off the bottom and keeping that connection onto anything that's in the bottom. So when you're magnet fishing, there are going to be instances, if you go out enough, where you are going to find a firearm. For instance, this is a 1872 Colt revolver that Sonia had found a couple weeks ago. Now there is a procedure that you guys should follow when you're finding these types of things. The first thing you want to do is to make sure that it's not loaded and you're keeping it pointed in a safe direction. You want to treat any gun or weapon that you're pulling out of these rivers like they're loaded. The next step is you want to call the non-emergency line. In the past, we've had different police departments give us different insight on this. We've been told you should call 911. We've been told you should call the non-emergency. I highly recommend calling the non-emergency number when you guys find anything like this. It just helps not tie up the lines. We've had instances in Flint where they couldn't even send anybody out for 3.5, 4 hours because they had more important things going on. So you always want to call that in. So the next step, the police will come out and they'll talk to you and they will assess the situation and see where it's at, and they'll put it into an evidence bag. We really like to find out what is happening with these firearms after we find them. They'll give you an incident number, and with this incident number, you can call and contact them typically about 14 days after you've made the find, and they will let you know what has happened with it. A lot of times you have to keep calling back over and over. I've only personally had guns come back stolen. I've never had any used in crimes, but I do know people that have had them used in crimes. Anything that's rusty and old, pre-1960, 1970, is fair game as a wall hanger. That's why I've got all of these rustier ones up here. Things that are more of a paperweight at this point than a firearm. Anything new, you should be calling in, especially if it looks like it could still fire, which has been the case quite a few times. One thing I noticed in a lot of magnet fishing videos online is you see that the cops get angry or they're seen bothered by they seem bothered that they're there for this call. And what I have found personally is you get what you give. If you are not respectable and you're not kind and treat them like an everyday person, they're not going to be nice. I've got friends that have gone out and they don't quite know how to handle themselves in those situations, and they find themselves in trouble typically. I've had one buddy who actually got picked up. He called in on a weapon that he had found, and he actually got arrested for work in another state that day because he called in. So make sure you guys are very careful when it comes to that.
Make sure you don't have a record.
Yeah, 100%.
the next big thing is gonna be disposal. So there's been days when we've pulled in over 1,000 pounds of metal between a group of 8 of us. And there are multiple ways that you can get rid of this metal, but the main thing is do not leave it at the bridge. It's gonna ruin it for everybody else. The more trash and rust and debris that is left at these bridges, which has become a very common thing, it's making it so that they're trying to litigate against us being able to magnet fish because people don't know how to clean it up for themselves. The whole point of this hobby is to make the area cleaner than it was when you got there. Yes, finding cool things is one of the big bonuses of it, but the main thing is the environmental aspect of it. And especially when it comes to things like the electric scooters or anything that's got a battery with it, that is terrible for the environment there and it's gonna harm the fish. So the ways that you can dispose of all of this garbage, you can have a friend that scraps. We've got a couple buddies in a couple different cities that we can call anytime and he'll come with his truck and he'll pick up everything that we've got. You can take it with you and you can take it to the scrap yard yourself, to which you can get a decent amount of money, surprisingly. There was one day there was 10 of us out magnet fishing for about 4 hours, and we had saved up enough scrap to go and get 8 pizzas for everyone to eat pizza. So you can repurpose that, get money for gas or food or whatever is the instance. The other way that we take care of this usually is with trash cans or dumpsters. Pretty much anywhere you go, you can find a dumpster or a trash can. Especially at a lot of these parks here in the Detroit area, there's trash cans at every single one of these parks. If there is a dumpster, I highly recommend putting them in the dumpster opposed to the trash cans, because typically the person that's out there emptying these trash cans can struggle a little bit. I know the guy down in E-Course, he's a little bit older and he struggles to empty them, so we make sure we go and put them into dumpsters. So I highly recommend putting them in dumpsters. Up here, I've got some of my favorite finds from over the years. I'm gonna invite you guys in a few minutes to come up and take a look at them. I just ask, please do not touch or pick anything up. We've had some stuff damaged at my last event, so if you guys could just look. There's also stickers up here for everybody. Feel free to take as many as you want. We have more as well. And yeah, I'm gonna open this up for questions if anyone's got some questions about magnet fishing. Oh, actually, she just reminded me. So I wanna show you guys this sign up in front here. Can everybody see this here? Yeah. So this is my favorite find, and it's because it contains uranium glass. Uranium glass was used way back from the 20s to the 60s or 70s. You can still find it today, and it lights up under black light. So when you take a black light to this sign, wow, the bridge part will light up where the beads are. And that is why it's my favorite find of all time. It's unique. You don't find things like that quite often. Uranium. Yeah, it's a minuscule. Oh, so these bottles up here, magnet fishing has led us into a multitude of hobbies. We now do a thing called bottle digging. We go mudlarking, where we walk the sides of the rivers looking for treasures. These were found in Flint. We were actually going magnet fishing, and we made a wrong turn. There was a bridge at this spot, and I looked down. I said, I'm just going to get out and go look. It looks like there's some glass down there. And sure enough, it was an old bottle dump, where people had just dumped trash way back when, before there was services to remove the trash. We also do metal detecting, and like anything that involves looking for treasure, we really, really enjoy.
Have you ever cleaned anything up?
Yeah, so there are items that we clean up. I have found so much stuff, and I go out every weekend. I'm way behind on cleaning things up. There's a lot of different methods that you can use to clean, and one of the main ones that we use is white vinegar. It does a really good job of breaking everything up. The first 24 hours in the white vinegar is going to remove a lot of that rust and tarnish off the outside. Then we use a soft metal brush like brass or copper to rub onto it to get the rest of the rust off. If you keep doing that in 24-hour cycles, after a couple days, it's going to be fairly clean. This revolver here that she had found, the handle came up. So this one wasn't cleaned. You can still see all of the rust and stuff, and this one was cleaned a little bit more. You can see all through here. It's still going to rust over at the end. We use oil-based things. You can use olive oil, any type of oil on them, and it will help preserve the metal a little bit, prevent it from rusting any further. But a lot of the times, even after you clean them, the rust is going to come back. This one was cleaned using electrolysis, and it still looks rusty, but all of the gunk and stuff that was on here is missing now. I'll show you some more of the finds. This is also one of our favorite things to find. This is a 1913 Michigan license plate. We found 6 of these now in the Lansing area. They're made of porcelain, so the backing on them is metal, and that's how we caught them, but the front is porcelain, and it stayed in really good shape. This is one that was from a year after that, and you can tell this one wasn't in as good of shape where it was at. We actually just found it in 1912, 2 weekends ago over in Lansing as well. Those are just so much fun to find. I really like finding that, and I really like finding old tools. Anything that's got a story, I should say, I really enjoy finding. Especially things like this Royal Crown Cola. Like this can is from the 50s or 60s, and it's still in great shape from this in Detroit.
Is it still full?
It was not, it was empty. Someone had already popped the top on it and
Yeah.
had already drank it all. Some of the things that you're gonna find when you go out magnet fishing are gonna be bottle caps and nails. That is like 95% of the stuff that we pull in. The other little bit might be fishing lures. To find a lot of the bigger things, it takes time. When you guys watch videos on YouTube or TikTok of people magnet fishing, it may look like they just went out there and threw their magnet in once, found it and came home. But a lot of these people, we go out and it's like 8 to 10 hours in a day to come up with a 7 to 8 minute video of finds. You're not gonna find something every single throw. And if you do, let me know where you're at. I'll come join you.
You lost any magnets?
I have personally not lost any magnets. We did lose one of her magnets over in New Jersey. Yeah, the Hudson River is no joke. There's just giant boulders out there, and we were using the come along to crank it back, and her rope had snapped. So, yeah, that one's gonna stay there, unfortunately.
Are they expensive?
So the prices can vary quite a bit. So for something like this double-sided magnet here, this has got a pull strength of 750 pounds. These you can get on Amazon anywhere from $30 to $50. They're on the cheaper end, but you're not gonna find a whole lot with this. When it comes to picking a magnet, I highly recommend the 360 style magnet. They are a little bit pricier, but the amount of stuff that you're gonna find is crazy compared. Something like this is closer to $50 to $60. These plant magnets are closer to $200. And then the 360 magnets can go anywhere from $250 to $300. But if you go to my YouTube channel down in any of my video descriptions, you'll see a discount code, Surfing USA 10, and you save 10% there as well. So you get a little bit of a discount. Yes?
How many ropes have you had snap?
So personally, I've had 3 ropes snapped so far. This is like the 10th rope that I've gone through since I started. A lot of the places that we magnet fish have cement up on the side. So when we're pulling in our magnets, our rope's pulling on that cement and it wears away the rope. It just starts breaking it down and pulling it apart and it loses its strength at that point. So you want to replace your magnet if you've got any real big divots or anything in it. Yes, sir.
How deep do you go magnet fishing with, in terms of depth of water?
So honestly, as long as you've got the rope for it, you can go to any depth. Typically, I use a 100-foot of line to do my fishing from. In most places that we magnet fish, the water isn't deeper than 15, 20-foot max. There are some spots like out on the Detroit River where it's a little bit deeper that we've accessed with boats. But at any depth, really, you're going to find stuff. If it's too shallow, you probably won't find a lot. And I would actually suggest not fishing where it's too shallow. We've had incidents where I've thrown my magnet, I've hit a rock, and my magnet just cracked right down the middle. These magnets are very brittle and they break pretty easily. I'm on I'd like to say my 8th 360 degree magnet in the past couple years, but it's just from using it so much, they break down really fast.
There's enough weight to take it down to the bottom?
Yes, so each one of these magnets, my 360 degree magnet's about 5 pounds in weight. Some of the other ones are a little bit lighter. The double-sided was only 2.7 pounds. And it is enough to suck it right down to the bottom. That actually made me think this. So when we were fishing and there's not a lot of rocks in that area, we also use grappling hooks. So this hook here,
Oh, wow.
so this is a grappling hook. We'll put this right on the end with our magnets and we'll throw this in. This is gonna help you find material and items that are non-magnetic. So I've grabbed down to purses. I found what purse was it? It was a big name purse.
It wasn't Gucci. It was similar though. It was an expensive purse, but I pulled it in with one of these. We've used these to help pull in electric scooters because they're not very magnetic. Sometimes we'll get our magnet like stuck up in the brake and pull it in, and then we'll use these to get it the rest of the way up. This has been a lifesaver, I'm telling you. There's been times where, like the other day, she had found a rope in the water, and we didn't know what it was, and we couldn't get the magnet onto it to tie it off. But we were able to drop this down, grab the rope, and she found a magnet on the rope. Yeah. But this comes in handy quite a bit.
You're trying to get a body, kind of pull a body up with that.
With the purse.
When you're in a group, how often do you get one magnet stuck to another magnet?
So surprisingly, it doesn't happen a whole lot. There have been instances where we were fishing at an event, and let's say the size of the stage here, we had 25 people on here, all throwing in the same spot, crisscrossing ropes. When you do get a magnet stuck to another magnet, it can be a pain to get off. What I recommend is tying one side off to something solid like a pole, and then having everyone else on the other side go and try to pull it off. If that doesn't work, I'll take a fishing or a railroad spike, and I'll try to hammer it down in between those, and I'll kind of wedge them apart a little bit, and that makes it a little bit easier to get them back. If that doesn't work, I would recommend tying off one side and using the come along on the other side to pull them apart. It does happen.
Sure. What are your throwing techniques? Do you ever use any devices to give you a longer reach?
So I don't use any devices. We have been wanting to make a, what's it called? Jumper shake? Is that what it's called?
Catapult?
Like a catapult, yeah. Where you could launch them out and go farther. When I throw, so when I throw, I try to leave a foot or two of extra rope right here. And I come down and I turn and I face my chest up. So you gotta think if you ever watch shot put or anyone throwing hammer, it's very similar. Wherever you're pointing your chest is where the trajectory of this magnet's gonna go. And if you point and turn and let go that way, it's gonna go the farthest possible. I really want to launch. I think that would be a lot of fun. Any other questions?
Do you like, to secure your rope around or do you tie it or hot glue or what do you do?
So when you are getting to your spots and you're about to start fishing, I'll take the other end of my magnet that's just got this carabiner on it, and I'll say this is it. I'll tie it around the pole.
That I left there around.
It comes with the rope like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so most of the climbing ropes, we get them right from Amazon. There's a company called Jenny that has really good ones. They'll come already like, it came with the carabiner and everything. Yes? You have a question? Okay. But we do tie them off. If there's a railing nearby, you can tie it off to a railing. If there's a tree nearby, tie it off to a tree. The one place that you should never tie this off to is your waist or your wrist. This past year, there was a woman down in Florida doing some magnet fishing. She threw her magnet off the bridge. About 2 minutes after throwing her magnet, she was pulling it in, and a boat came through going very fast. She had it tied off to her waist, and the boat ripped her off of the bridge and threw her into the water. She was very, very hurt.
Human jet ski.
Yes, yes. Wow. So I recommend not tying it to yourself because of that. Also, if a tree were to come along and your magnet gets stuck to this big tree floating down the river, you're not stopping that tree, and you might end up in the river with that tree. Yes, sir?
How, when you're throwing a magnet out and there's a metallic object that it's attracted to, how much mud or sand or whatever, debris can cover this and still have the magnet attach itself?
So with that, most of it's based off the strength of the magnet. So if I'm using a 3,800 pound magnet, I should be able to go anywhere from like 6 to 10 inches down into the mud with it and pull through still. Some of those less strong magnets are only going to go down a few inches into the mud. That's one of the reasons why we start finding a lot more things after we've been fishing an area of, let's say, an hour or two of finding nothing. But really, we've been moving all that dirt and all that stuff away for those hours, and we'll start finding more stuff too that was a little bit down deeper. But yeah, definitely at least 6 to 8 inches on the bigger magnets. Okay, if you've got no more questions, I'm gonna invite you guys up to come and take a look at some of these fines. Feel free to ask me anything while you guys are up here, and I can tell you about any of the fines. There's also stickers on the side over here for you guys. Please take as many as you want. I have more. And yeah, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Hi, all right, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah. Keeping busy as always.
Grappling hook, I'm honestly not sure. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm that kind of person.
Okay, so you're not taking the
That sounds interesting. No, I grew up in Delray, so, I mean, I can imagine all the illegal crap that was thrown in the river there. Both, guns and other weapons. And, dumping from industrial companies, like 55-gallon drums and stuff.
Jimmy Hawk.
You don't want to.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, that and the toxic water itself in there. I mean, we used to hang and play around by Jefferson and Dearborn, right in the heart of it.
Metal technique is kind of like.
My friend, basically, we were like
It's a little bit different from that.
late
You can be in
tweens, early teens.
anywhere public
We're playing
is okay.
chase over by the river there around that area.
As long as you're not
One of my
like
friends,
a
we shot and
wildlife.
shot and totally rolled in the water and he had like asthma ever since.
And there's websites where you can.
I saw a dead cat or something floating over there, to fur or the gap now, but yeah. It's toxic. There's all that Dug Island and everything else. Detroit, Delray used to be the most polluted zip code in the country.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, yeah.
We're heading out to New Jersey.
And now it's only been superseded by further down the road with the portion of the Rouge where the McLeod steel plant is.
I didn't realize that. That didn't even occur to me.
I mean, back in the 70s and early 80s when we were growing up, we call it Wayne soap, I don't know what that factory is. But it was a high processing factory, they slowly made soap or other products. Literally, you would see the stuff that came out of smokestacks, when they were holding old cars back in the day, those big metal cabins and, Lincolns and everything, and they would eat away the paint at it. Yeah, that's how toxic, that's what we were breathing in, so. This stuff that we're getting from the forest fires, like you're expecting everybody. That's just another day in the park here. Now it's important, now that every Joe blow in the middle class and upper class. And of course, the government lets them get away with all that.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's all being replaced by the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Yeah, oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, over, it's all been torn out and mostly they finally replaced, people bought them new houses. Obviously in Detroit, not in nicer neighborhoods, but out of there, they finally forced everybody out and moved them over there. So they could do the big bridge to have the cycle. That's good, kids. This is our inaugural or ending program until we get the auditorium redone, so.
They're redoing this?
Yeah, we're gonna get new chairs, new carpeting, slightly better AV system to be stereo sound instead of mono.
Oh, wow.
Even though we got all these speakers that's technically mono, most people don't notice that, but people like me.
Yeah, you would
know,
notice, yeah.
When you hear a car going in a movie from left to right, the sound's supposed to go left to right.
It doesn't do that.
Most people don't notice it yet. I mean, everything in the booth is stereo, but here, because of the way the original contractor wired the speakers, even when we went to double, this isn't surround, it's just two sets of the same sound going back, which means 4 mono speakers.
Well, you did what you could with what you had, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you did a good job with.
Yeah, but nice to see you again.
I personally did, the guy that
Been
was.
quite a few years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I come in and get books and things, but if there's a master, obviously, who I run
Life
across.
happens, yeah.
Yeah, well, who's at desk or who's wherever.
Of the.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Right,
You could
depending
go
on whether it's
here
day
and
or night, yeah.
Yeah, see somebody somewhere else. and you're, why you never know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been here.
This is a little toy boat.
33 years now between full and part-time. 90 to 94 was part-time, and then 94 onward is full-time. I'm still only gonna be 52 in a couple days, so
Oh.
I can't retire yet. I can't got the money to retire, but
Yeah.
The ship that used
I
to park there.
mean, you gotta wait till at least 55, and then I'll have to have another job lined up.
Yeah.
You're lucky you're not here anymore. They got us a high deductible health
I never got one because I was just
part-time.
so they never.
If you were started full-time, yeah.
Yeah, they.
Well, they offered to part-timers now,
Yep,
but
that's
basically,
what the
if
Saturday-
you were to pay for it, you had to pay for it.
Oh.
It's only useful if you got a spouse who's working full-time,
Yeah.
or an apartment breadwinner, but suckier insurance. Before
Yeah.
we had, you know, the
They
high
used
deductible
to
health
have
care.
really good health.
It was decent, yeah, it was pretty good, but I started in 2018, they started making it pay.
Yeah.
The, lower deductibles, like 250 deductible, 10% co-insurance, now it's like
I'm fine.
2,000 deductible per person, 4,000 for family, and high insurance.
Yeah.
Originally
20%.
Thank you.
The thumb area is Cole County. And then I went to school in East Lansing.
Have a look at all the fun stuff out there.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dennis, it was good to see you.
You don't wanna look at that stuff.
I love this stuff.
Problem is, so much old stuff, there's not really the stuff I'm looking for. I mean, I don't wanna go to schoolyard. I wanna go into out in country and. Real cool artifacts and stuff. Yeah.
We usually drive an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes even longer to get to our spots every time we go out. Like, from Lansing to over here, it's like an hour and a half. But when I was living in Carroll, I'd come down to Detroit every single weekend to hang out with my buddy. And it was like a 2.5 hour drive for me to get down to where we were fishing at. I would do it every weekend. It was worth
Where
it.
would you guys go on this stuff?
Pretty much anywhere in Detroit. The main one is John Dingle down in Course. It's like our main spot. We used to hang fish quite a bit. But
It's just right there on the carpets and stuff like that?
yeah, we pulled out, I think, 60 bells from that park alone, just that one
Yeah.
time. Yeah. There was like 9 trips in a row, and we'd go in there, we'd find like 2 or 3 every time. It's crazy.
Okay. My sister, they've got a property up towards one of the, and there's a river that goes through there and stuff, a different water. Summer, she'll take them out, out there, and we're looking at the land before then. I guess, story is, these, she'll take them out the back porch.
Yeah.
So she took my metal detector over there, and she said, "Oh, the detector goes back there, so we keep saying overload, overload." And I said, I would be out there every day. Dig up that whole yard, see what's under there. Yeah, really sad. I would, I'd go crazy. And I just, you know, I'm always walking around there, spending the time to go up there and stuff, but I would, I wanna know what's back there.
I knew that the face was familiar, I didn't want
This is
to.
probably just to the area, we can't wait to type it.
I've got like a 120-year-old carriage outside his property, and I can't wait to build the type it.
Where's that at?
Over in, what's it called? Grand Ledge.
Oh,
We're
wow.
in-
It's
It's right over by the island spot right there. Really, there used to be a resort way back when, and I think it closed in 1912 or something like that.
That's the thing, well, that's why when I watch all these YouTube, I watch.
You stopped at it? You stopping it for her? Sorry?
Yeah, trying to.
You might want to edit out the last 5 minutes of me and that lady yakking.
Yeah.
I was live for anyone that wanted to join us.
Anyway,